Hey guys, back with another cut test. Today it is the Spyderco Sage 2 in S30V. I've tested S30V a couple times. Blade's dirty. I wanted to test this because the blade stock is fairly thin, as you can see. I put a pretty wicked geometry on this thing. It's at about 30 degrees inclusive, maybe 28, a little bit under 30. And also, the blade is not centered. The edge isn't centered, as you can see from the plunge line. And the vast difference in bevel thicknesses. The blade is not ground perfectly centered. You can tell from the plunge line, which is that right there, that the blade is kind of pushed over that way, and it's just an imperfection in the way it was ground. I just want to see how it cuts. The actual primary bevel or secondary bevel is at 30 degrees inclusive, but I put a micro bevel on here at 40. So this is more just a test of how a micro bevel works, a pretty stout micro bevel on a very thin grind, and also just to see the cutting performance of this knife with this geometry. Same deal, roughly 9 feet of 3/8 inch sisal rope, and I'm pretty excited to see how this geometry works out. I have a feeling it's going to cut pretty well, but we don't know yet. So I'm just going to get to it. Show initial sharpness, which is hair whittling. Certified hair whittling just before this test. Extremely sharp. I'm really excited to see how S30V holds up at a very shallow edge with a micro bevel. Wow. I don't know if it's coming through on the video, but it's taking me no effort whatsoever to get through this rope. Like, none. This is the best cutter I've tested yet. Wow. It's taking me no effort. I'm just getting through it as easy as it could be, I think. I always test sharpness after the first few cuts. And it's S30V, so it's not going to have an issue. Pretty surprising, actually, since the bevel is so thin, but it does have that micro bevel on it, and that's what I'm wanting to test, how durable that actually is. So I'm just going to continue on. For a couple push cuts. Did that extremely well. This knife is very comfortable to be how thin it is and small. It's extremely comfortable. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I knew it was fairly comfortable from EDC in it, but didn't know it was that comfortable. It's holding its edge like a champ too. Wow. That's good geometry, I'm thinking. Very shallow, but with a very strong micro bevel. I don't do a lot of knives like this, and it's really wanting to see if I got some added strength with a pretty obtuse micro bevel, and if I did get added strength, was it at the cost of performance? And I can tell you right now that performance is not an issue. This thing cuts. Wow, it cuts. I mean, there's there's nothing else I can say. It cuts like crazy. Test sharpness again. Still easily able to slice phone book paper. This is why I'm really sad to see S30V being phased out, because it is just an awesome steel. I mean, it really is just an awesome steel. Looks like halfway through the test, and there's not even a single piece of damage in the edge. Not even a single microscopic place of damage in the edge. I mean, it's still cutting extremely well. I guess we'll just continue on. I think this is in focus. I mean, I'm really happy with the way this is performing. I really had the idea that a micro bevel would hinder performance on this edge. I figured just keeping it at 30 degrees would be the best way to do it. But I really thought it might be weak. So I added the micro bevel just playing around, like I said. And I know I've tested S30V, but not with this particular geometry. And honestly, I'm glad I did, because it's quite amazing. Test sharpness again. I'm still able to slice phone book paper. It is not even an issue. It's not hard at all. In case I've never said it, I love S30V. It may be on the more time-consuming side to sharpen, and honestly, it can be a bear to sharpen sometimes. But man, does it perform. Especially when it's heat treated right, like Spyderco does. Man, does it perform. I'm loving this geometry too. I may do this to all my knives, honestly. I don't know if every steel will hold it like this, but I'm really liking this geometry. 30 degree micro bevel, maybe a little less with a 30 degree primary bevel with a 40 degree micro bevel. Still able to slice phone book paper. No issues at all. And that's not, this is the heel. That's the part that's been doing no cutting. This is the part that's been doing the cutting. It's still more than happy to slice the paper. I don't think S30V has performed this well yet. So last cut. I may be onto something with this geometry. I'm really liking the way it's performing. If it can get through all this rope without having a single little bit of damage that's too much to cut through the paper, then that's phenomenal. That is phenomenal. And again, that's not the heel of the blade. That's the belly portion that's been doing the cutting. This is the heel for reference. Screwed that up. Didn't I? This is the heel. I mean, you can hear the difference. That was the part that's been doing the cutting. This is the heel. Part that's been doing the cutting. Too small of a piece. I'll do that comparison again. Heel, and then the belly. It's been doing the cutting. That is honestly blowing my mind right now. How is it still able to slice paper? It's got to be the geometry. I screw it up more times than not. But you get the drift. It's sharp. Very sharp. I'll show you the edge. There is not even the tiniest bit of damage. Phenomenal. There's a little bit right there, but it's not even enough to affect the paper cutting, as you saw. Just a tiny bit of rolling right there. But honestly, that's a very, very, very acute angle. And it held it just fine. Honestly, pretty amazing. I did not notice that little bit of damage. So I want to get a piece of paper and cut at the very tip and see what we have. It looks bad on camera, but in real life it's not bad at all. And as you can see, it still cuts. That's the tip. The part that you saw was a little bit damaged. That's the tip doing the cutting. I hate these big pieces of foam book paper. That's the tip. It appears to be damaged, and it is damaged. But honestly, I think that it's still cutting because it is such a shallow geometry. I mean, you can see it still cuts. At the point of damage, it still cuts. It's got to be the geometry. Sliced right through it. So, pretty impressive. To me, at least. I'm glad I did this test, and I'm glad I tried this particular geometry. So, anyway, if any of you guys have some S30V and you want to thin it out and slap a micro bevel on it, it works. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.